How old are your children? Are they at an age that they're starting to understand the dangers that come from being a biracial Latino in the USA? And how do you handle that?
Yeah, they're pretty clear. Uh, 14 and 12. And it's been the case though since they were very young, when people, eh, yeah, it's that harassment. I had a, there was another issue where my eldest got spit on in Spanish class. And that was another case. That was a year after the other thing. And then it's like one of those things where it's like, it's like this kind of stuff's going to happen when we have the hate rhetoric that we have in our society, and the stuff that's directed at immigrants is just so then they wanted to brush it off. And my daughter had a witness, but the witness kind of got afraid because it was about testifying in front of the police. So then my job there in that situation was to not get arrested. And, it's like, so I was, and I don't know, maybe it's like this, we were talking before about like the dog putting the steak in front of the dog, right? It's like I was in a situation there where it's like I didn't want to go down to the school because I didn't trust myself to not get really upset and not make a scene and then not make things worse. And it's sort of like be smart enough to not put yourself in the room with the steak, if you're the dog, like I was in that case. So I didn't go down there. But I called the police officer because the police officer who was investigating the case, he started to give me this, railroad me with, oh, they said this, they said that. And he talked and he kind of got that where he was really directing the situation. But then I said, okay, you're done talking. Let me talk. And I told that same story I told about finding the girl in the woods. And I said, the reason we have situations like this is because we don't teach respect. And isn't that something you claim to stand for is teaching respect? And I don't see how it's respectful to let a girl get spit on. And it's like, I don't care really. It's like, what about, it's like you said, you don't have enough to go on. It's like her word is enough. It's like if I was to spit on you as a police officer, would your word be enough? Well, it got handled after that. They moved the kid from the classroom. I mean, he didn't get punished really, but other than to be moved, but they're separated then at that point. And it's just like people, and it's like you were saying before, there's all these deflections, because nobody ever wants to say it's race. But it's like we got constant hate against immigrants for the last 10 years. It's escalating. And it's, you're seeing more and more acts of violence. They're calling for concentration camps. And then there's a loss of life as a result of this, right? So yeah, I guess I'm still kind of struggling with the idea that I should be. So, you, you at some point as a father, you have to give a little bit of leeway where it's like, yeah, I'm not a violent person, and I'm not gonna, but I will defend my kids. And there's just some situations where I just don't want to be in a room where I'm just ready for this election to be over. That's been just a case of just mounting stress.
You
And
want
we
to
have the
leave, brother?
opportunity. I mean, it would be a little bit of a challenge, but I think we would leave so we could get out. But I'm not going to subject. But then there's always that issue. I mean, you have to kind of think if there's people that wouldn't be able to leave, and there's just going to be a lot of pain, and there's going to be a lot of suffering inflicted on completely innocent people if the right choice isn't made. So
Even
you got
if
to
the
keep.
right choice is made, brother, this is
That's
bigger
true.
than, unfortunately, the hatred that immigrants to this country are experiencing is bigger than who's president. Like, there will be a radically different outcome for sure,
Yeah,
depending upon who is
you're
chosen to be
right.
president. But this is not something that is
It's not
somehow
going to be
going to be
solved.
solved. Yeah, exactly. So I've already decided to leave. I'm out, brother.
Yeah, where you going? You have a plan where you're going to?
The plan is being worked on right now.
Good.
But yeah, I can't. I've been here
Yeah.
for 40 years now. I I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I want to live a different life, at least for a time.
Do it.
Um,
Do it.
yeah,
You got another language?
I'm going to attempt French. So we'll see where that leads me, but that is going to happen regardless of where I end up going. So
Well, that's another thing. I mean, it's that control philosophy because nobody teaches foreign language in the United States. And that part of that, I think that's deliberate. I mean, you'll have 2 years of it. You'll have it as a junior and a senior. You need foreign language from like, first grade. You should be teaching. And it's another thing that doesn't make sense because I've taught English as a second language teaches you the parts of speech when you teach. It's like it makes you understand. It's the only way to teach English is to teach, English with Spanish. You teach them together. So it's like we do all these things. We have all these mechanisms in place in the United States that are designed to make people, that are designed to be less effective as part of this control mechanism.
Yeah,
And they
I
don't want you to
mean,
leave.
as a teacher, as a career teacher, brother, I've seen it up close and personal. Like eventually it starts as like a tickle, like you were saying before, like you start seeing things aren't quite right, but eventually people are pretty explicit about not actually wanting kids to get what they need and what they deserve and
Yes.
the education that they should have.
Yep.
So, um I have somebody in the chat right now, a longtime friend of mine. Her husband is Mexican and she's a racialized white woman, and her kids are biracial. And a kid stood up in the cafeteria and pretended like he was calling Donald Trump, and said, "Oh, we need ice out here to
Oof.
to take our kid away,"
Yeah.
And so I ended up, and then it ended up, I believe, into a physical altercation, if I'm remembering correctly. And
Ah.
so she ended up bringing me to the school. According to her, she wrote in the chat, I took Will to school with me because he had bond money. so I,
Yeah.
so I think she
Yeah.
very much understands what you were saying there. I don't know what she would have done if he had got spit on, So
Yeah.
I think you've got to, you made the right choice by not going, right? You made the right choice. You knew. And I don't think that you can really judge yourself for holding yourself back in that way. I think that was the right thing to do, right? If you didn't want violence, if you didn't want something to go awry, right? Maybe you shouldn't have trusted yourself in that situation,
Yeah.
and I think that's reasonable. So I wouldn't worry too much about something like that. That's
Oh
extreme.
no, it's not really necessarily that I worry. I just am kind of curious about the process of just this simmering down process and like just the continuing this and I guess it's something I've been deliberately working on.
Thanks for watching. For access to the full length conversation and all of the 2 hour long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support and see you next time.